What's up guys, Caleb here, and today I'm going to be going over the 6 custom James Bond minifigures I made, part 2. For those of you who are new here, this is pretty much the series where I make a batch of 6 custom minifigures. I've already made a batch of custom minifigs based off James Bond characters, and already one based off people who follow my channel, but I did decide I wanted to do another James Bond one because the last one got a lot of views and it was a lot of fun to make, and so I pretty much made James Bond figures, custom figures, episode 2. And for those of you who don't know, the very last figure in this series is always my favorite, so make sure to stick around the end when I show you my favorite custom minifig I made. I'm also going to apologize that I haven't uploaded recently. I was going to make this video yesterday, and I was going to start filming it, and then family came over, and I was pretty much busy for the rest of the night, and so I couldn't film it yesterday, so I figured I would film it today, so sorry for the lack of videos. I'm planning to get back on schedule with my videos, but anyhow, this is the 6 custom James Bond minifigs I made. Without further ado, let's dive right in. First figure we have is Pierce Brosnan James Bond, the version of James Bond where it is Pierce Brosnan, and I pretty much made him in his spy gear, so he's got a bunch of weapons and all black clothes, so this is pretty much Pierce Brosnan in his spy gear. I do think it looks a lot like the real Pierce Brosnan. He's one of my favorite James Bond actors, and so I figured I'd make him. This is actually the face from like the First Order General from the First Order Battle Pack, and so I used that with some slick back hair, spy gear. I would say it looks a lot like James Bond, and especially the Pierce Brosnan version, especially with the slick back hair. I wanted to get the hair a little bit puffier, but I couldn't quite find that hairpiece, so I went with this more slick back version, and I do think it works pretty well. This minifigure I made was Blofeld, and I pretty much based this off of his movie Inspector, which is honestly an incredible James Bond film. A lot of people really didn't like it, and really didn't like this version of Blofeld, but personally, I thought he was an incredible version of Blofeld, so I pretty much based it off of him. He's got that tired old look with the gray eyebrows, gray hair, kind of a very stern look to him, and he's got his black suit on. And he did turn out looking a lot like that version of Blofeld, which is one of my favorites. I couldn't quite get his, scarred look that he has at the end of the movie, but I did get, his look without the scar, and I think it captured it pretty well. Next up, I made a bit of a less recognizable character to some, but still a pretty cool one. I pretty much made Mr. White, but I based it off of his appearance from Spectre, where he's pretty much sitting in the basement just like watching everything fall apart on these cameras. And James Bond comes down there and confronts him, and he ends up shooting himself, and it is quite a dark end, but I figured I'd give him a gun, just because that is part of the scene, and I gave him this really cool beard hair combo piece that looks really cool. He's got kind of a stern look on, and I do think I captured him pretty well. He's even got, his jacket kind of off, and it definitely looks a lot like that version of Mr. White. Even though it's not the most, recognizable version of him, I do think it looks a lot like him. Next up is pretty much my second favorite custom figure I made. I pretty much made a version of Moneypenny from the movie Skyfall. Skyfall is my favorite James Bond film of all time. An incredible film, and this is in the opening scene where she's pretty much attempting to shoot the guy who's tackling Bond, but she's on a train. Well, she's sitting next to him and she's trying to shoot the guy on the train, but she accidentally shoots Bond, and she's horrified that she accidentally shot Bond. And so I pretty much made her with, her iconic kind of puffy hair and her horrified look. I feel like the skin tone is a little bit too dark, but I think it's alright. I think it definitely looks a lot like her, and this puffy hair is actually from the bookshop lady. She's got this sniper, and she's got this really cool coat on, which is actually from the Freemaker Adventures TV show, and even has some khaki pants, and it definitely looks a lot like her from the movie, If you compare pictures of her to the minifig, I think it looks a lot like her, which is cool. We have a pretty underrated character, Renard, from the movie The World Is Not Enough, which is actually one with Pierce Brosnan. And he's the guy who's pretty much got the bullet lodged in his brain, so he can't feel anything, and he's senseless, and so it makes him really good in a fight. And he was a pretty underrated villain, in my opinion, so I figured, why don't I build him? Obviously, I couldn't quite get the scar, but I really got, his face expression down pretty well, which is pretty cool, and he's got, kind of a coat on, and he's got a bit large gun, sniper pistol, whatever you want to call it. The back, there's even that face, but he does look pretty angry, and it is a pretty cool figure of a pretty underrated villain. But definitely not least, my favorite James Bond custom minifigure I made for this batch is Oddjob. That's right, I built an Oddjob minifigure, and he turned out incredible. I love how this Oddjob looks. I did give him a top hat, which my dog chewed up a little bit as a young dog, so apologies for that, but he does have a little pistol. He's got a coat that's from the Penguin, I believe. He's got the short legs, But if you look at like Oddjob and then you take a look at this figure, they look a lot alike. Obviously, I couldn't quite get his mustache, but I did use the face from the 501st Trooper, which is actually the face I used here, and I think it definitely represents his look pretty well. And this is definitely my favorite custom figure I made. It looks so much like the actual Oddjob if you compare it. Oddjob, one of my favorite James Bond villains, to this with his razor sharp hat and everything. They look almost identical, and he's definitely my favorite custom James Bond minifig I made. Here you have it, guys. Those are the 6 custom James Bond minifigures I made, part 2. Let me know in the comments if there's anybody that you would like me to make, and I will attempt to make them from a James Bond film in minifigure form. And let me know especially which one's your favorite and which one I kind of nailed most. The Secret Productions sign off for now. Make sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned because my vlog is coming soon. I was a little lazy and didn't film for a few days, but I'm back to filming it, and it will be coming in the next week or so. Secret Productions signing off for now. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.